wait for a few minutes, please? First of all, I'd just like to welcome everybody here this afternoon on behalf of the support of the Rugby League. It's a magnificent turnout for what I think everybody will agree is, without a doubt, one of the true legends of Barrow, let alone Barrow Rugby League, and that's Billy Little. Now, anybody around the town, well, if there's anybody who doesn't know Billy Little, I'll be amazed, but everybody who knows him will agree that from time to time the sport brings up the word of character. Every team, every sport needs a character, and if there's a bigger character in sport, let alone rugby league, than Billy Little, because I think this man invented the word. He's, without a shadow of a doubt, the best known sportsman, the best known rugby league player that Whitehaven or Barrow has produced. He is such a gentleman, such a credit to his family, his sport. Settle down. I grew up around the streets of Ironpool and Monk Street, where Billy lived with Madge for most of his life, and day in, day out, there isn't a thing he wouldn't do. Any kid who walked up to him, anybody who spoke to him, well, was fed up because it took you 2 hours to get away from him in the end. He was fed up with saying hello. And to my kids and every kid of Ironpool, he was put by the sailor, because that's how he used to go around saying. So, but when we started the Hall of Fame last year, the three gentlemen, the worthy gentlemen that are on the wall at the moment, Billy was the fourth person who would have been on the wall anyway. And I got that many phone calls saying, why is Billy Little not in? Why isn't he in? So for anybody who's wondering, that's why we didn't go to a vote, because the public of Barrow themselves wanted Billy Little in the Hall of Fame. To say that he graces our Hall of Fame, like the other three gentlemen, he'd grace any Hall of Fame anywhere in the world, in any sport. We in this club are without a doubt the luckiest, because we've got 50, 60, 70 people who will grace any Hall of Fame anywhere in the world. So to you, we are so proud of everything that you've ever done for Barrow Rugby. It's unbelievable. So the support club of Barrow Rugby would like to say thank you. That said, once it got in the papers that Billy was coming here today for this award, again I was inundated with phone calls for people who would like to speak. Can I come? Can I say a few words? I'd like to say something. You know, the man's so great. It's unbelievable the number of people I turned away. One of the people who did phone me up, and I was quite proud to say yes, by all means, we'd love to, was a gentleman who wrote the book on Willie Horne. And anybody who's read the book, part of it is on Billy Little. Such is the esteem this man is held in, that this guy's come all the way from Carlisle today to speak. So if we could welcome Mike Gardner on board, please, to say a few words.
Thanks very much for that. I don't know if some of your opponents say you're a gentleman, Bill. Not many people you've played against I think you're a gentleman, would they? You used to hit one or two, didn't you, mate? I think when you're analysing or debating this great honour that you've got, Bill, following the three fantastic players we've got on the wall now, I think there's two elements that you think of. You look at the playing career, and your playing career was fantastic, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Look at the appearances you made and how you inspired other people and what sort of player you were. And I think the other thing is, which is equal with it, is what sort of character people showed, and the way you lifted the team. So I think this is really, it's a tribute to your playing career, but it's equally a tribute to you as a person, because I think everyone in this room loves you. The whole town of Barrow loves you. We're so proud of you. And the fact that you were a great player to me comes second, because you're just a great person, not just a great player. So I think, sure everyone in the room would agree with me on that one. I've thought about what I might want to say here, and I think what I might try and do is get in some sort of historic context about, you just come from such a different era from people here. You last played in 1947, 55 years ago, so would there be anyone in this room who saw you play? There'd only probably be 3 or 4 people who saw you play, so I'm going to say a little bit about where you were born and your influences and when you came to Barrow. So Billy's 91, if everyone didn't know that. Born 1911. And Roy's mentioned the house in Monk Street that many people in this room have been in and been made welcome by Madge, and I've certainly spent many a happy hour there. Well, it's a sort of compact family house, isn't it, which is it's not overly big. Well, Billy was brought up in a house exactly the same in Great Clifton near Workington. The difference was there was 13 of them, 11 brothers and sisters. So another idea of how Billy comes from a different generation was his father died when he was very young, and Bill came home from school one day when he was 12 years old, and one of his elder brothers said to him, "You can put your books away, Bill, you're not going back to school again." "So where am I going?" He said, "You're coming down the pit with me." 12 years old, he goes down the pit. Starts off with the pit ponies, ends up on working as a face worker, hacking away at the coal, 12 hours a day. 6 bob a week he got, 30p, 6 shillings a week. But fortunately for people in Barrow, Billy absolutely hated that. It just so happens that he was the best scrum-half in Cumberland. So there were several teams watching Bill play, and one was Oldham, who tried to sign Bill. But luckily for us, he turned Oldham down and came to Barrow. And I think it's the furthest you'd ever been, Bill, wasn't it? You come to Barrow, you're 20 years old, you told me this story about walking up Dalton Road with your clogs on, thinking it was a big city, wasn't it? So, you signed for Barrow for £70 you got, and that must have been a huge amount of money. This is when people work for 6 shillings a week, and you give all that money to your mother, which is the same thing Willie Horne did a few years later. So I think what I'd like to say about your career can be summed up like this, of the sort of player you were. Is many nights I spent with Willie Horne, and I said to him, well, his father used to bring Willie to Craven Park to watch Barrow play, and I said to Willie, well, who was your hero when you were 15, 16? Who did you look up to? He said, there was only one man, Billy Little. He said, if I could grow up and be half the player Billy Little was, I know I would have been a decent player. So I don't think there can be any better accolade at all than Willie Horne saying you're the greatest player that he's ever seen. I think the other thing that Bill's well known for, of course, is this drop goal. You know which one I'm talking about, Bill, don't you? 1938, 2-2, last minute, Halifax, right between them posts. But you didn't see it, did you? Because there was 3 forwards on top of you rubbing your face in the ground. Just like you did through the game, through every game. Don't come the old glory more generous to me. Billy played, I've written a few notes down here, 446 games, and remember 3 or 4 years are missing because of the war. He scored 51 tries, 44 goals, played 3 times for England, 15 times for Cumberland. And I just want to show you now, the people at the back might not be able to see this. He looks a nice old fella now, doesn't he? Everyone's favourite uncle, isn't he? You can't see that, the people at the front can see it. This is 1943. Look at that in the front there. Fancy him tackling you. Now on this picture here, 1943, there's some big forwards on here. There's Mark Lou, Bobby Ayres, who's an international, England international, Ginger Hughes, Alan Hughes' father, You can see quite clearly the biggest man on there, not in height but in muscle, intimidation, is definitely Billy. Look at the size of him. Got his game face on there, Bill, haven't you? Grunting at the camera. You also notice, and this is one of my favourite stories about Bill, like all good scrum-halves, no teeth. You're better looking now than that, Bill, aren't you? Now, as you might have picked up now, some of the younger people who won't know much about Bill, he didn't mind hitting people. You know, if the game needed to be won, there was someone doing a bit of running, you sorted him out, Bill, didn't you? But one day, someone caught up with you, didn't they? And you were looking the other way and they stiff-armed you across the face. No substitutes in them days. Lying on the floor. Trainer comes on. 7 teeth in your hand. No substitutes. Oh, you'll have to come off, Bill. I'm not coming off, or winning money. Went back on and played. Broke his cheekbone, and he played the following week. Broken cheekbone. You don't make all these substitutes, Bill, then, was there? You had to play there, didn't you? The other significant thing about this picture, there's old gentleman Jim there. Nice to see you again, Jim. On the back, looks about 12, doesn't he? And here on the front, right next to Bill, is the great Willie Horne, of course. And I remember again talking to Willie one of the nights, and I said to him, when you first turned pro, Willie, what was it like? He said, did people used to hit you? He said, not when Billy Little was around, he said. No one used to hit him on when he was around. And at the odd time, people used to think, well, this Billy Little's only a scrum half, I'm not particularly worried about him. So he used to deck Willie. Willie used to say, Billy would come over to him, pick him up, rub his head, just tell me his number. What was the number? And Willie would say 8 or 10, usually they were prop forwards, you know, who's going to take him on in the back? So imagine a winger taking him on. Anyway, about 5 minutes later, Willie said, whoever he was lying on the floor unconscious with stars circling around. So he's not a bad guy to have in your team. Anyway, Billy ended up coaching Barrow and Whitehaven, was very successful at Whitehaven, came back to Barrow as a trainer, and my final sort of anecdote about Bill is, again, in those days there was no science involved in rugby, and fitness tests were very, very important, because with only 13 men and no substitutes, you couldn't take chances with anybody. So apparently they had what was called the Billy Little fitness test, where if they'd get changed on the Thursday night before the match, and Bill would go in the middle of the field. Remember, he was in his 40s now, and they used to run at Billy, and if he would tackle them, and if they got up from that, they knew they could stand anything at all. So that's all I've got to say, Bill, except to repeat what I've said early on, is that this is a tribute to you as a great, wonderful, wonderful scrum half, but we just love you a bit, and we're so proud of you. So it's more as a person, it's as a person first and as a player second. Thanks for everything you've done, Bill.
Scares me just sat there. That's what you're doing in a minute, what you're here for. You don't know what to sing, mate. No, like I said at the first time we did the Hall of Fame, from the supporters club's point of view, and from, I hope, every supporter who's ever supported Barrow Rugby, that the biggest compliment we can give a team that plays, to say that everybody in our eyes that's ever put a Barrow Rugby League shirt on, that's ever gone out on the pitch and tried, and for those who have played rugby and know what I'm talking about, it's not easy, it's the hardest game in the world to play, but it's the one that will give you the most art. But from everybody who's ever put a rugby shirt on for Barrow Rugby, as far as the supporters are concerned, you're all legends, and you always will be, because we're so proud of everything you do out there. You don't understand. So to come here and to do this, and especially for a man like Billy, is the proudest moment of my career involved anywhere with Rugby League. But again, as far as past players go, we've got about the best in Rugby League at the moment, and another man who wanted to come here today and say a few words, and as always he brings a whole host of Rugby League past players with him, and that is George Matthews. So if we could ask George to come forward please and say a few words.
Thank you. I'd just like to join everybody on behalf of the past players in congratulating Billy, joining the great Willie and Phil and Jimmy in the Hall of Fame. His character, his skill, and most of all his sense of humour has been an inspiration to us all. Thank you, Billy. Thank you.
You wouldn't have got far then, would have had you? As ever, at these Hall of Fame things, we think it would be nice if the directors of Barrow Rugby spoke up on behalf of the past players, and today was no exception. Again, when we go and when we do these things, you're having to fight people off to say, I want to say a few words, I want to say a few words. But unfortunately we have to pick one person. So today, one of Barrow Rugby League's newest directors, Paul Lindsay, would like to come forward and say a few words on behalf of Barrow Rugby League.
Alright.
Can I just say, I didn't have to fight anybody off. I'm not going to go over repeating what Mike Garden has said so eloquently already. The guy started in 1932, a defeat against Wakefield, and finished with a defeat against Bellevue Rangers. Bit of a bloody jaw, really. In today's rugby, 15 years loyal service with one club I think is unique enough. But the fact that, as Mike said, 55 years after he stopped playing, so many people are prepared to turn on, speaks volumes for the guy. So just before Jimmy Luthwaite comes up and does the ceremony, can I just ask everyone to raise the glass and toast Billy Little. Not bad for a Jamaican thing.
When we started the Hall of Fame, and I said it at the last one, people say to you, why bother with the past? The past's gone. For a forward-thinking club like we are now, that we hope that within the next 10 years that we'll be up where we belong in the top flight, we've got to rely on quite a few things. Obviously, the players at the present, we have to get behind them and give them 200% support, especially when the chips are down. And it's great to see again that we've got a couple of lads, Cliff Beverley and Martin Henderson, that are turned out for us again today in the back. These lads work tirelessly for us. Anything we want, they come without question. So thank you very much. Sorry, it's Andrew Henderson and not Martin. Sorry, Endo. But the most important thing for any club is the foundations on which it was built. And I'd like to say, hand on heart, that this club, through its past players and everybody else, directors, the supporters that have been, has got the best foundations of any in Rugby League. Now when I do this and any other, I'll have a theme that I work on, My theme today was, because Billy has coached the club, was people who played and coached for the rugby. I think if you look around the room, we've got plenty of those dedicated people today. Anybody who's played for a rugby club gives his heart and 200% on the field, and we're no exception. To then go on and coach a club, I think, needs one extra factor. A screw loose in your head, for one. But these gentlemen have done it, and they've been there, and they've done us proud. They've done it through times when there's no money available, and if you want a player, you know, you've got to go down the leagues, and amateurs wouldn't play for them. So to those coaches who've worked us through the hard times, again, the supporters of Barrow Rugby League would like to say thanks very much, because you've done us proud as well. You're part of everything that we're doing there. Thank you. But, like I said, today's about one great man. So, without further ado, I need to call on somebody to welcome Billy into the Hall of Fame. I could have gone for celebrities, there's plenty of them about. But I thought what would be a touching thing and what would be a little bit more special is for him to be invited into the Hall of Fame by a fellow Hall of Fame member. So with that in mind, could I ask Jimmy Luthwaite to come forward, please?
Well, I wish to thank the Supporters Club for giving me the opportunity to present this trophy to Billy. When I joined the Barrow Rugby Club, along at the same time as Willie Horne, I did not know, because I'd been a soccer player previously. I did not know many of the existing rugby players. And until Billy made himself known to me as a fellow Cumbrian, I've always been proud to know of him, and to realise how he stamped his name in the rugby league world. And it was with this in mind that I have the pleasure of presenting this trophy to Billy as the fourth person to join the Hall of Fame. Billy.
He goes wherever you want it to. You can eat bloody dinner off it. Where's it go?
Right, this way, gentlemen. This way.
One here, please. Can you have a look at the plate as well? Okay. This way, please. Come on, smile.
Like I said, I don't think there's ever... I tell you what, there's a challenge. Somebody showed me a bigger character in the game of rugby league ever. There's no one. Right, that's it. He's going. Look at him. He's off. Right. So once again, to all the supporters, the players, and everybody involved at Barrow Rugby League, and especially today, Billy Little. Thanks very much. Thank you.
this way, Mary. You're not thinks he's playing, it's that way.
Sorry, Billy heard that there was a problem in the playing staff. He's trying to get on the field at the moment.
Right, let's get first to the bucket.
Hang on, don't worry. Harry, come here, let's get it in. Go on,
worried about him. But I was telling him about you and he said, you've got to keep warm. You've got to keep warm and keep out the wind.